All right. This is the Mazaroth, also known as the Zodiac. This is part two. We're going to be dealing with Proverbs Chapter 20, verse 24, which simply just says that Yah is in control, or He governs your way in which you go. Uh, the way in which you go, it determines on how you feel. If you feel like going, you'll go. If you don't, you won't. So it's all about feelings, influence, and the way you go. Genesis chapter 15, verse 5. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven and tell the stars, which a constellation is a group of stars. They were created by Yah, not the devil or Satan. It says, Tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. Now, a lot of people think that that's just talking about because there are so many stars that you can't number them. That it's just talking about that's how many people they're going to be from his seed. But he says that your seed is going to be like those stars. So you're going to have people from your seed that are going to take on attributes of these stars or constellations. Now he divided the stars, the sun, the moon, the stars, all the heavens, unto all the nations. But he set out a particular group of people for himself. Even though everyone uses the stars, the constellations, it affects everybody at some extent. But it mostly affects his people, more so than anybody else. Partly because the Most High's chosen people, their pineal gland is not calcified. Most other races and nations, according to the research I've done, most of them, their pineal gland is calcified. So they got all kind of teaching, all kind of videos on how to decalcify your pineal gland, blah, 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 and so on. But most of the Most High chosen people who went through all of the stuff that I showed you in the part one of the Mazaroth Zodiac, they are born and their pineal glands are not calcified, meaning they're liquid. So the sun, the planets, especially the moon, has more of an effect and impact on them. Okay? And reference to that is in Deuteronomy chapter 4, starting at verse 19. Deuteronomy 4, and I'll just turn to it. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 19. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which Yah thy power hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. But Yah hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. So, even though it was divided unto all people, we're a special people. So the Most High's chosen people are special people. Now it's going to get interesting because Abraham's seed is as the stars in Genesis 15 and 5, all constellations. Excuse me, my throat kind of bothers me. And Job chapter 38, starting at verse 31, is where the Mazaroth is mentioned, also called the Zodiac. And I will turn there right quick. Job 38. I said right quick. Here we go. Job 38, verse 31. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? We're talking about the influences that come from these planets and stars and constellations. Can thou bring forth Mazaroth in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? Knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? So the ordinances of heaven are controlled by the forces that are being brought on us by the stars, the constellations, the planets, the sun, the moon, whatnot. Okay, and it's real easy to know that the moon has an effect on life forms, on anything fluid, anything liquid, because I don't know if y'all remember the part of the video, the movie Bruce Almighty, when he pulls the moon in close, how it causes the tsunami, and they wake up the next day and they see on the news big tsunami hit because the moon came too close to the earth. So the moon is what controls the tides. When the moon wobbles and moves toward the earth, the tides come in. When the moon pulls away from the earth, the tides go out. And this happens every day as the moon is circling the earth and as the earth is being caught in the little whirlwind that's behind the sun as it follows the sun around the Milky Way galaxy. So the sun, it has an effect, but the moon more often. So when the moon moves into the same sign as the sun, dealing with your birth, the attributes of that particular constellation sign, whatever you want to call it, are just magnified. It's far greater. I'll explain that a little bit more later. But even in the book of Job, you're going to see where it talks about the ordinances of heaven. Okay? And if you go to chapter 39, it says, "Knowest thou the time when the wild goats of the rock bring forth?" We're in Job chapter 39, verse 1. It says, "Or canst thou mark when the hinds do calve?" And of course, that would be Capricorn. If you can see the symbol on the screen there, it's like a hind or calf. Okay, right there. Says, "Canst thou number the months that they fulfill? Or knowest thou the time when they bring forth, or the time in which they were born?" So here we see a very precise clue to let you see that you have to know the time in which you were born. So you have to know what time you was born. So let's say you was born, I'll just use my birthday, September the 11th. Okay, I was born during the time of harvest, which is why the symbol shows a woman holding a bushel of wheat. You can always see the woman or some type of innocent figure harvesting. Okay, and also Asher was born during the time of harvest. I got the scriptures for that also, but I was born during this time. So the sun was going through the constellation of Virgo, or the sun was in the area of the constellation of Virgo from the Earth's point of view when I was born. And when the moon goes into the Virgo constellation, the attributes of the so-called Virgo are more keen, more present. Okay, so if you was born in I'll say Aries, and then the moon goes through, because this is the moon right here. For those of y'all that didn't know that, that's the moon right there. So when the moon goes through Aries, all of the attributes of Aries are heightened. But just be aware that the good positive traits and the negative traits are also heightened. Same thing with Cancer. Cancer has to be very careful because when the moon goes into Cancer, you become very emotional, very perceptive. You can really catch emotions. You can tell when people are lying and BSing you around. But you also, if you feel kind of crappy, it's going to be 10 times worse because the moon is going through Cancer, and the moon is going to make Cancer very emotional. And this is also why I was talking about the lunar. The moon app, okay, on the phone. On the very bottom, you'll see where it shows what constellation that the moon is going through. That is what that is for. It lets you see what constellation the moon is going through, and it helps you tap into when your time is. I don't know if y'all ever remember the saying when people say, "Huh, everything went good. I guess the stars was aligned just right. Or maybe it was just my time. Well, that's where that comes from. You'll know when it's your time because you'll know when you was born, and you'll know when the moon is going through your time. If you was born during the time of Taurus, when the moon goes to Taurus, that's going to be your time. We've even done this. Me and my wife have done this. Uh, we would go out to shoot pool, and I would always win. But when the moon went through Cancer, I noticed when we went out to shoot pool, she started beating me at pool. That never happened. I always would win when we play pool. But for some reason, she was winning that night. So I pulled out my phone. I pulled out my phone here. I said, let me look and see where the moon is at. See what's going on here. So I pull out my little moon app on my phone, and just so happened I looked down here, and the moon was going through Cancer. And right now, the moon is going from Scorpio to Sagittarius right now. And the reason why that is, why I chose to do the video this night, is because the attributes of Sagittarius are very keen right now. So I'm picking up on the Sagittarius attributes, and I'm using those attributes to do some teaching in the video. And I'll show you a quick website on that so you can see what the Sagittarius attributes I'm actually talking about. What I'm talking about when it talks about Sagittarius, that's right here. Hope you can see it. There we go. What I'm talking about is where it says, let me find it. Philosopher and teacher. See? So when it says who was a philosopher and teacher, that's over here. Okay, that's the part of the attributes of the Sagittarius, being the philosopher and teacher. Right there. It's a touch screen, you have to ignore that. But yeah, being the philosopher and teacher. So when you use your phone app, it's my wife, pretty, and you see it's 96% illuminated, almost full moon. Very powerful moon tonight. It is Tuesday, May 5th, and I'm really feeling the philosophizing and the teaching attributes. I've been talking to myself all day, and that's because the moon is going through Sagittarius right now. It's the perfect time to do any teaching or to catch up on some learning. Something that you've been wanting to do some studying on, this would be a good time to do it when the moon goes through Sagittarius. If you're going over your taxes, if you are trying to come up with a saving plan to do your mortgage, you're trying to adjust your bills to see if you can afford a certain mortgage on the house you want, that would be a good time to do it when the moon is going through Sagittarius. Okay, so that is what that is for down there on the bottom. This is not just to know when the moon is starting and when it's ending. It also lets you know when the moon is going through each sign. Okay? But yeah, back to the so-called zodiac, which is actually the Mazaroth. It is in the Bible, and it is in Job chapter 38, verse 31 through 33. And if you read on through the book of Job, you're going to see different attributes in the book of Job that points to the zodiac signs. Just like we're just talking about the goat. Okay? The goat. And there is a goat on here. And it's always right in here. Okay, you got Capricorn, the goat. Alright? It's right there. You can see my little arrow. That's in verse 39. And then you read on to Job 39 and 5. Who has sent out the wild ass free, or who hath loosed the bands of the wild ass, or the strong ass, couching between two burdens. Okay, the strong ass would be Taurus, bull. Okay, just like Issachar. And that, where is that at? Issachar in Genesis chapter 49, starting at verse 1, where it talks about Issachar being a strong ass couching down between two burdens, like a little couch potato. He likes to rest. He became a servant unto tribute. You know, he likes to work, but he's still kind of lazy. You know, he has no real, initiative to lead. He just want to work. Okay, that's your Taurus. And then you got Job chapter 39 verse 10. Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee? When you see the word furrow, that points toward Virgo. Anytime you read things that talks about Virgo, it's going to talk about either harvesting, the furrow, the field. She symbolizes the harvest, not as yet gathered in. So gathering the harvest, that's Virgo. All right. And you're going to have verse 12, gather it into thy barn. There's Virgo again. Verse 18, we're still in Job chapter 39, but verse 18, it says, what time she lifteth up herself on high, she scorneth the horse and his rider. The horse and his rider, Sagittarius. Okay, man ride on a horse, got the bow. Okay. Verse 21, the armed men. Okay. Then you got you're gonna see it. It's all over here. Once you get past the Mazaroth, you're gonna start just seeing it pop up. Chapter 40, verse 16. His strength is in his loins, force and labor of his belly. Talking about the ox or the bull. There go Taurus again. Chapter 41, verse 4. Will make a covenant with thee without taking for a servant forever. You got where's that? The maidens in verse 5. That's Virgo. Verse 7 talks about the fish spears. That's Pisces. Verse 12. I will not conceal his parts, nor his power, nor his comely portions. That's Cancer. Verse 13. Who can discover the face of his garment? Because the crab hides in his shell, hides his face. Okay, Cancer right there. Verse 15, his scales are his pride, shut up together as with a closed seal. Scales, that represents Libra. Excuse me. But the Libra, it usually shows scales. There it is right there at the very bottom. It's upside down. So you got the man holding the scales. Okay. But yeah, verse 17, we're in Job chapter 41, verse 17, says they are joined one to another. That's Gemini. Gemini can join twins, like they're joined together. Okay. So yeah, once you hit the Mazaroth, you're going to see in Scripture where it leads up to that. Now we're going to go to Isaiah chapter 47, verse 13. And that basically just lets you know that they did have astrologers back then, stargazers, people who did use the stars, okay? It was something that a lot of the prophets used to help guide people in their decision making in their life. So there's all kind of scripture. I'd be all night if I was to go into all the scriptures, but I'm not going to do it. But I'm basically just showing that this is in scripture. It's a part of the scriptures. It always has been. It's not witchcraft or voodoo or whatever they try to make it out to be, because it was divided unto all nations. All nations has their own form of this. But it started out, it came from us. It came from the Most High's chosen people. The Most High, the one created the stars. Okay? He the one put the moon up there. It's not just up there for decorations. It actually has a purpose. It affects us. That's the whole bottom line that I'm trying to throw out. Okay? But yeah, when Job chapter 38, starting at verse 31, when it says the ordinances of heaven, you want to tie that into Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 35. Now I'll turn there. Jeremiah 31, 35. Thus saith Yah, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea with the waves thereof. See? Yahuwah of hosts is the name. So, Verse 36, if those ordinances depart from before me, saith Yah, then the seed of Yasharal also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Because the nation of Yasharal is tied into the ordinances of the moon and the stars. So you also want to make sure you know your moon sign. So I have a link on my Facebook. I'm going to try to put the link in the description of this video, that there are websites you can go to find out what your moon sign is, okay? And this is just one of many websites that they have out there to kind of help you understand what sign does what. This is www.heartwingsandfriends.com. So and it kind of goes through each sign, okay? And I'm going to show you what I got. I'll make that in a part 3, but this is just a part 2. So I'm going to cut this video short, and I'm going to come back with part 3 and go into Genesis chapter 49. Okay? But yeah, this is a pretty good website here.